When it comes to your children, you want to make sure that in case of an emergency, they can get the best care possible. But depending where you live, there may not be a hospital nearby that's perfectly equipped or experienced in handling small children. So Bridget is standing by now to ask a doctor.
Ask a Doctor is sponsored by Red Mountain Weight Loss.
A recent Wall Street Journal study found only 14% of emergency departments across the U.S. specialize in children or are ready to treat them. And here in Orlando, we have a few children-specific hospitals to note about. And what if you live outside of Orange County, though? Dr. Jenna Wheeler is a pediatric critical care physician at Orlando Health Arnold Palmer Hospital for Children. Good to have you back.
Thanks so much for having me.
You know, when we look at emergency care for children, there are several things to keep in mind, but what are some of the basic tenets when we think of, an emergency with our child? What should we run down the list of first, whether it's, do we need to go out to like Arnold Palmer Hospital for Children, or can we just go to like a pediatric, after hours place? What should we do?
That's a great question. One of the things we always say in pediatrics is children aren't just small adults. And so that's why it does become so important that we get specialized care for our kids. Obviously, in an emergency, you go to the first place that they can provide care to your child. From there, they can decide and transport and do different things to get you to a pediatric-specific facility. When it comes to after-hours places, to emergency rooms, the most important is just to have people who all of their training has gone into taking care of children. From the staff, from the equipment, it really does make a difference.
And so, let's say your child is having trouble breathing, or your child is saying that they maybe hurt their back or something like that. How do you narrow down where should I take them?
A lot of it is just trusting your gut. You know as a parent if something is off. When breathing difficulty happens, if you feel that you have time, driving to the nearest pediatric facility. A lot of times, though, when you mention people outside of Orange County, people who live a little further out, when breathing difficulties happen, you call 911, and they take you to the place where they can first get care, get assessed, and then get transferred somewhere where that specific pediatric care is available, if appropriate. For back pain, for things like that, a broken arm, for things that you may have a little bit more time, maybe making a few more minutes of a drive to a facility like Arnold Palmer or a pediatric urgent care, that would be best for that kind of initial look.
And when we talk about like the equipment available, that comes into play too, because sometimes you might end up having to make multiple stops, but maybe a few phone calls can help you narrow down which trip to make, right?
That's definitely the case. A lot of times too, don't forget about your local pediatrician. A lot of times the after hours phone calls, the nurse triage lines, they can also really help guide you as to where to go. But it is important. I mean, children are much smaller, even from the size of an IV that you put in, or a nurse who has specific training in putting an IV into a child compared to an adult. All of those things, from the equipment to just the care, the explanations, being used to working with a child who's scared. All of those things are really something that we can give a benefit to in a pediatric facility.
And you specialize in it at Arnold Palmer.
Correct. It's what we do. Everyone there has training. We do, mock drills where we have, simulated patients, making sure everyone has the highest level of care, the highest level of training, making sure all of our equipment is specific to any injury or any problem that would arise in a child so that we can treat them efficiently.
All right. So it's good to know how far away you are
Yes.
or the nearest children's pediatric emergency unit is, in case you need to get out there to get your kid there to get checked out. All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Wheeler. We appreciate that. And I'll send it back over to Julie and Michelle.
All right, Bridget, thank you. Great information there.